Welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American. This is my first live in 2 months. So, of course, I had some technical difficulties with the intro music there. But anyway, we're going to talk about, as you saw in the thumbnail, spy swap, question mark, exclamation mark. It was in the news. You've probably heard several people have been traded between Russia and I guess I could say the West because I don't think they're all Americans, right, Kevin?
Right.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna have you pull off screen for a second.
Yeah, why?
Because your camera is all out of whack now.
Oh man. Sorry guys. I'm pulling off screen for a second. Did you want me to come back, Kevin?
I would exit out of the studio and come back in. Did you look
Darn
over
it.
in the private chat?
No. Okay, all right. I'm leaving the studio. Goodbye, everyone. Maybe Kevin will talk to you some.
I'll talk to everybody. I'll give you an introduction. Putin's plane was not shot down, Erica. So, what can I say? Propaganda. You know, his plane's been shot down and he's been killed about 900 times recently. So, and he's died of cancer. And so the prisoner exchange. I'll give you a little, heads up on what's been going on there. The U.S. and Russia completed their biggest prisoner swap in post-Soviet history. And that was on Thursday. No, today's Friday. That was on Wednesday. And that was followed by back channel negotiations, despite Moscow and Washington's relations being at the lowest point since the Cold War. And, Joseph's back. Oh,
How do I
he's
look,
nice
Kevin?
and clear. You look great now.
How do I sound?
You sound okay.
What did you say about yourself?
I was just talking about what this prisoner exchange was about.
Did you say anything about me?
I said, what a great, handsome guy you are.
Fantastic. Okay, guys.
Booming voice.
Guys,
my
I'm
eyes
sorry about
turning
the technical
brown?
difficulties. So I guess I'll introduce you. You can introduce me. How's that sound? Guys, this is Kevin Michelizzi. If you're just joining the show, I like to call him my ex-Washington man. Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong with the facts here, but I think Kevin was an evil American, and then he saw Mr. Smith Goes to Washington starring Jimmy Stewart, and he decided to change his heart and move to Russia by pretending to be a blind man. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I'm not really a Washington man. I worked for, let's say, somebody out in Virginia, and as a contractor, but I did it remotely. And I moved to Russia for totally non-political reasons, and happened to get stuck here during the unmentionable virus.
Okay.
So continued consulting for this agency for a couple of years while I was here without them knowing about it.
Okay.
And but at that time, I also saw a change in my heart due to what I saw the United States doing with NATO against Russia. And having known Russia for a long, long time, decided it was time to even the playing field a little bit.
Okay. All right. So, guys, we're going to talk about what just happened in the news. I think it was 24 hours ago, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be looking for questions while we talk. So you might want to put those in all caps and give me 3 question marks. And you may have questions as we go along. But I guess in one more minute, Kevin, now you introduce me.
Introduce you.
Who am I,
Everybody
Kevin?
knows Joseph Stephen Rose. He is the man about Moscow, recently turned political what should we say? Political commentator and just all around great guy. If you guys want to move to Russia and you want to go to the Moscow area, contact Joseph or Svetlana. Her email is in the description below. So
Good job, man. I didn't even tell you to do that for me ahead of time. So you did good.
what
And
can I
is it
say?
is it okay with the algorithm if I officially say that I'm doing political commentary? Or should I just pretend I'm a fun guy and just sneak in political jabs here and there?
That's up to you. Hey, I have no problem with the algorithm, and I'm way over the line on things like that.
Okay, well, so let's get to it. I saw the news headlines that all of a sudden there's this big prisoner swap between Russia and the U.S. And I thought, wow, this is exciting because when you're talking about Russia and America, our whole lifetime, right? Practically, it's been the Cold War story, and what's more exciting between these two countries than a prisoner swap or potential spy swap? So basically, I want to know from you because of your past connections. I think you're a good person to talk to. What happened? Who are these people? Why now?
Well, like I was saying when you popped out and back in, this is actually the largest swap that's been done in post-Soviet history.
Hmm.
And this deal was orchestrated by Turkey again, their national intelligence organization, which is called MIT, not to be confused with the guys in Boston. Um, but they negotiated between Russia, the US, and the NATO allies and got significant concessions from both sides. Um,
Hmm.
Will say that Biden has declared that this was a great diplomatic achievement of his administration and took a dig at Donald Trump, saying, why didn't he get them released when he was president? But we have to give Turkey credit where where credit's due. This was a Turkey deal.
Hmm.
Um, so that said, the numbers you're going to see in the reports out there are different. A lot of reports are saying 24 people were exchanged. RT's reporting 26. If you count the actual people that were exchanged, it's 28, including 2 children. So, um,
Hmm. Why the discrepancy?
well, there's more discrepancies than that. And I don't know other than poor reporting.
Okay, well, before you continue, I have a thought, and I want you to tell me what you think of this. So, because I don't consider myself a political expert at this point, but when I heard this was happening, the first thing I thought was the Biden administration did this because they wanted something good in the news because the debate didn't go well, and then Trump survived, thankfully, his assassination. Um, and then Biden decided to drop out suddenly after those two things happened. I don't think it's a coincidence. And now this, because these people weren't just arrested yesterday. They've been, you know, held for a while, and now suddenly this is happening. Am I just too jaded? What do you think? Is that crazy?
You know, I think the election has something to do with it. They've got to have something good to push Harris up a bit.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I don't
And
know.
so if
Do I think?
I'm thinking that, I would assume there's lots of people thinking that, because I think Trump had been saying when he's president again, he's going to get all these people back. And so now Biden suddenly is like, look, got him back, you know?
Yeah,
So,
and of course that had nothing to do with Biden, but um,
mhm.
behind the scenes, it was uh, a lot of negotiators from a lot of sides.
So
The
is this something that would be negotiated for a really long time and it's going to happen when it happens and Biden just got lucky? Or is it something where the Biden administration made a phone call and said, you know what, we'll accept this deal that we've been not accepting. Let's do it now.
when was Navalny? When did he leave us? That was what, a couple of months ago?
Yeah. I mean,
16th of February.
you and I did a
So,
live on it. Okay. All right.
yeah. So the United States claims that for this deal, they were actually negotiating for the release of Navalny. So, considering he
Huh.
passed away on February 16th, 2024, this has
Hmm.
been going on since first of the year.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So it's been going on a while. And yeah, I mean, so who knows? I'm just speculating here. I just started a question. I know you have a lot more you want to share with us, Kevin, but I think since this is probably going to be on a lot of people's hearts, I'd like you to clear it up if you can. Why are they holding children as prisoners?
Well, we can get to that.
Okay, you want to
Um,
hold? Okay, he's going to keep us in suspense. That's good. That's good marketing, Kevin.
yeah.
Um,
Well, what can I say? It's quite a ways down the list, and I have to find it of all
okay,
who all
gotcha,
these
gotcha.
people are.
All right, very good. All right, so yeah, so continue.
Okay, so we basically had uh, 16 people released to the United States and its allies by Russia. And
Okay,
we had 10 people given back to Russia if you don't count the two children. The two
right.
children were actually the children of a couple of the people that were released, and they were being held in Slovenia. So that brings the number given to Russia to 12 if you count everybody, 12 versus 16.
A husband and wife.
Yeah, one pair was a husband and wife that were jailed in Slovenia.
Hmm.
And let me find them here.
And while
Artyom
you're looking,
and Artyom
the
and
the
Anna Doltsev. They were also known as Ludwig Gish and Maria Rosa Mayer Munoz. Um, they had Argentinian passports. They were living in Slovenia and running an IT business and an art studio. And their two children were there. So the reason I had them further down the list is because they were arrested for being sleeper agents. Now, they weren't arrested until last week.
hmm,
And when you start considering everything you hear in the Western press about how Russia trumps up charges, they arrest people just to exchange them for other people, I want everyone to start looking for patterns in what I'm going to talk to you about both sides and see the similarities in things. These people were arrested a week ago for being sleeper agents, posing as an Argentinian couple. Now, they were dual citizens, um, and they had been living in Slovenia for a while. They were arrested. They were brought to court on July 31st, on Tuesday. They
okay.
were convicted on Tuesday in a very swift, uh, you know, arrest and conviction, and then ordered deported. And then, of course, on Wednesday, right after that, they're shipped out on a plane back to Russia. well, to Turkey and then on to Russia, along with her 2 children.
Okay,
So
so weird. But they're part of the swap?
they are
But you're
part of the
saying
swap.
the court ordered them deported. Was that in conjunction with the swap?
Yeah.
So
So
are
the
we to
conviction and the deportation were ordered on the same day.
okay, okay. And these people you're saying they had two different identities?
They had dual citizenship, yeah.
Okay.
Although
Were their
they
names
had
different?
different names on their Argentinian passports than their Russian passports.
So I mean that would be suspicious, right?
It would be a bit suspicious.
Okay.
It could be.
But it
I
could
mean,
be nothing. And
you
you're
look at my
saying that
Russian passport, my name's different than my US passport, only because of transliteration, but
okay. And so
uh,
you think that one might think that it's possible they were pawns to get
it,
more people traded. Is that what
it's
you're trying to say? Are
possible.
we allowed to say that? Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
Now, it is a little bit suspicious that their names were, one of them totally Argentinian. Munoz is definitely, Gish, Ludwig Gish sounds more German to me. So,
Mm,
that would be a little suspicious to me.
okay. All right. Yeah, I heard that their children didn't even know about their ties to Russia, which would also be suspicious if that's true.
Yeah. And I don't know what their children's names were. Obviously, the children had Russian passports or they wouldn't be coming here, or they were
Right.
given diplomatic, pass or something.
Right, right, right. And the video of them coming off the plane is amazing to see. I mean, it made me want to cry. When she sees Putin, the mom, and she starts to cry, and then he
Yep.
gives her
And he's
flowers, which
hugging her and yeah.
yeah, it's a very sweet moment. And and it was a strange moment for me because I'm an American living in Russia, and here people are being traded, as if you know, each country is the bad guy place, but here I
Yeah.
am an American living in Russia and it's fine, but it
Yeah.
is kind of a surreal moment for me to witness while I'm living here, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So,
And, you can always look at all of these people on both sides and say, could they have been doing what they were accused of? Absolutely. Could they be pawns? Absolutely. So you have to kind of weigh all the evidence and see what the patterns are.
right, right, right. And everyone was on the same plane because they all were flown to Turkey and then flown over, or maybe just a few people in the one video they show.
No, they flew everybody to Antalya. They were swapped and then flown to their respective countries.
So the trade happened in Turkey.
The
Okay.
trade happened in Turkey too.
Okay. Got
So
it.
Turkey coordinated the negotiations,
Uh-huh.
the communications, the exchange, the whole works.
Now, why would a country, a smaller country, do something like this? What's in it for Turkey? Are they just sweet people, or is there something else there?
You know, Turkey has been trying to be the negotiators on quite a few things. I mean, let's go back to 2022. They were the negotiators on the deal between Russia and Ukraine in
Hmm.
February and March. They
Hmm.
were the negotiators on the grain deal
Hmm.
multiple times.
Right.
So I think Turkey is just trying to play the diplomat in the deal. And, it gives them street cred when it comes to diplomacy.
Yeah, and perhaps it gives them security if they're friendly with two of the big powers in the world or two of the big countries in the world. I've
Yeah.
heard that Turkey kind of tries to, not in a negative way, but work both sides, to try to, you know, I guess kind of bridge between East and West, if that.
Yeah. I like
There
to
we go.
term it I like to term it that Erdogan tends to sit on the fence, and a
Uh-huh.
guy who sits on the fence eventually is going to have a breeze come along and knock him one way or the other or down in the middle of the fence, straight through his cojones.
Hmm. So you don't feel good about this guy?
I won't say I don't feel good about him, but he does play both sides of the fence,
Okay.
and it's whatever benefits him,
Okay.
much like most politicians.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, very good. So, guys, remember, give
So,
us questions. We're looking for them. And so, Kevin, move us along here. What's next? Who else are we dealing with
well,
here?
I'm just, since we're in a studio we both control, I'm going to tell Lucas if he doesn't watch out, I'll just ban him because I'm not Joseph. I'm not nice like him. Call
I
me
don't
the
know what.
fat man, say I don't know what I'm talking about. I will ban you. Um, Lucas, Lucas has no clue what the hell he's talking about. MIT did the negotiating. So,
Oh, go ahead. Get rid of him if you have to, Kevin. I don't.
oh, yep. Now he's calling you a clown too. So, bye, Lucas. See you later.
Oh, I wanted to know why I'm a clown, you know? I mean, I can be a clown. It's okay. A clown might be a good thing. So,
Yeah. And Kevin Rose says he thinks that, their people are on both sides too. I would agree with that. On one hand, they're a NATO member. They want F-35s. On the other hand, they want Russian air defense. So, they're constantly playing, NATO versus Russia and trying to play both sides of it.
mm, okay. Okay. Interesting. You were skipping a bit. I don't know if that was me losing you and everyone or if everyone was losing you. Leave a comment,
Everyone
guys.
was losing me.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. How do you
So
know that?
I know that because I stream from here enough, and I know that the VPN I have to use to get outside of Crimea sometimes gets bumped. I don't know by whom, but we tend to be under a lot of denial of service attacks. And, whenever there's a drone flying around, things get turned off on occasion. So,
Yeah, I was in Novorossiysk and Anapa recently, and there were lots of power outages and bad service. And they said it was because power stations are no longer functioning because of the close proximity um, to the neighboring country. So that's what we were told
yeah.
anyway.
And of course, they had a nuclear power plant failure in Rostov in southern Russia. So, Rostov on Don. And of course,
Okay.
they turn everything off: GPS, navigation systems, cell phone navigation, everything whenever there's a something happening from uh, our neighbors.
Okay. Thanks, Ray. I just got a message. My mic was out of sync, but it's back in sync. All right, Kevin, you want me to ask you a random question or do you want to continue down your list and explain to us who these people are?
That's up to you. We got a bunch of people. I'm good with random.
Okay. Well, I mean, since we're talking about service, I was curious if you can explain to us what the deal is with Russia and YouTube because people are asking me lots of questions. I know it's a bit off topic, but we could cover it for a couple of minutes, I would say. Do you know what the deal is with Russia and YouTube?
I know exactly what the deal is with Russia and YouTube. Russia identified back 3 or 4 years ago
Hmm.
about 60,000 YouTube videos that they asked Google to remove from being able to be viewed in Russia because they violate Russian legislation.
Okay.
Google has refused to remove them.
Okay.
Russia has finally gotten to the point where they're saying, wait a minute, you block people in Russia that are streaming, you block different videos in various countries, you have the technology. And they do. It's real easy for them to program the AI to say, if we detect this kind of video being played, don't show it in these countries. I've been blocked in Spain a couple of times, a couple of other European countries, just for things that may have been said in an interview or on a stream.
Hmm.
So the technology's there, but they refuse to do it for Russia.
Okay.
So they want Russians to be exposed to everything from the West, even though Russia says, turn it off, we don't want to see it. Since Google
Mm.
refuses to do that, they've actually taken Google to court a couple of times, and Google has been fined for these practices. So
Okay.
they're finally saying, okay, well, we're going to slow it down so that Russians have difficulty watching videos on YouTube until YouTube corrects things. And if they don't correct it, we will develop our own platform and we will simply disable it. Now, I'm kind of walking a tightrope on this one with the Russian Federation and saying, if you have a VPN and you're in Russia, you can turn it on and you can see YouTube videos just fine.
Hmm.
So, um, Russia does now disallow advertising VPNs or posting articles about how to enable VPN, but VPN is not illegal here.
Okay. What do you think is going to be the outcome of this? Do you think YouTube is going to change, or do you think it's going to be turned off?
Even though they do not give us creators in Russia credit for advertisements that people see on our videos, and they do not pay us monetarily without us going through hoops. I
Hmm.
think that Google will look at the number of people that they lose viewer wise and the money they're losing. And I think they'll give in.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, because it's like an international data collection service, and they want to collect their data. And losing all
Yeah.
of Russia would damage um, their goal. Um,
And
hmm.
realistically, Russia doesn't have a service that compares to YouTube.
That
And
was going
if
to be
you're,
my next thing I was going to say, because RooTube,
yeah,
I understand, is a failure. Zen is just Russian. It has to be articles as well. Um, so go ahead.
VK
Do
is
you have
all
something
right,
else?
but it requires a ton of viewers before you even start getting monetized. And
Which
then
place is this?
VK
Okay,
video.
VK. Okay, okay.
So if you have 5,000 followers
Hmm.
and you then get thrown into a pot with all the other people who have 5,000 followers that are doing videos.
Hmm.
And they take whatever the income is on those videos, they take their cut out of it. And what's left, they divide it up to everybody else, depending on your percentage of the total views of all those people. So it comes
Hmm.
out to very, very little for little guys like us.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what to do, guys. And I'm not going to say it again because Russia and the algorithm are listening.
Yep. And Goodfella says RooTube and Telegram are 100% censorship free. I can tell you that Rumble uh, is supposedly censor free. There's no money there. RooTube, there's no money there.
Mhm,
We have a colleague in Moscow who does a bunch of views on RooTube and he makes zero on it.
mhm. Well, I mean, I still don't turn a profit from this. I don't do it for money, but I do it thinking maybe I'll have a profit one day. If I thought I would have no possibility of a profit one day, I might have to restructure things. So it's a combination of I might make money, and I feel like I'm helping the world be a better place. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not doing it for the money either. I'd like to earn enough to pay for my cup of coffee every day.
right, right, right. Okay, well that's let's not go any longer on this since it's off topic. But so yeah, so who's next on our list of interesting people that have been traded?
Yeah, I think Erica has another question too here. Let me find it.
And by the way,
Uh,
guys, I did open up Rumble and Zen, and I post there as quick as I can. But for now, I think it's best to stay on this platform, and unless I disappear. All right, go ahead.
So this is about YouTube again, or Google and
Okay,
YouTube.
go ahead, go ahead.
Isn't it legally discriminatory? Aren't there international laws that address this? Absolutely. But keep in mind that international laws only apply to the guys making the laws, which tends to be the United States. Um, you know, they do not hold themselves to any of what they claim are the world order, the rules, and the international laws that they themselves say everybody else has to follow. So it's kind of a hypocrisy thing on the part of the West.
Okay, well, that reminded me. I have one more thing to say about this, then, and then we got to get back on topic. And
Yep.
that is, when I started the channel, it was like 4 months old. I spoke at Ghost Duma, and one of the things they wanted me to talk about is the importance of YouTube as a platform to get the word out to the world who Russia is, because that's what I'm trying to do on this channel, is let the world know Russia's a good place. And I said in my speech, the West with sanctions is trying to put up a new Iron Curtain, this time from the outside. And we as people who live in Russia, we don't want to help them do that
Yep.
by removing YouTube. But perhaps this is just a negotiating thing that Russia's doing, and YouTube will make adjustments, and it will start to work better again. But
Yeah,
anyway.
like I say, I think it's a pressured deal on Google. I've been told by a friend of mine that's in the Duma that the likelihood of YouTube being banned here is pretty slim.
Right.
But we won't tell YouTube that. Oh wait, did I just do that?
All right. Okay, so who's the next most interesting person on our list here, Kevin? That we should.
Well, according to the United States, the two most interesting people, the first would be Evan Gershkovich, um, journalist for the Wall Street Journal. Um, you know, he's the guy that Biden says was targeted by the Russian government because he's a journalist and an American. And
Mhm.
journalism is not a crime.
Uh-huh.
But he was arrested in a town I can't pronounce, Ravagonsavod,
Okay.
which is about 150 kilometers north of Yekaterinburg. That's about 90 miles for our Western viewers.
Okay.
And the only thing that exists there is a military manufacturing and repair plant where they make tanks. And he was taking pictures outside this plant where it was clearly marked as a top secret plant, and he was arrested for it. Now, people in the United States go, oh, he was just a journalist doing journalism. But think about it. If you or I went to Fort Bragg and we stood outside the fence where it's posted top secret, no entry, and we've got telephoto camera lenses, and we're taking pictures of military exercises and equipment rolling out, things like that, what would happen to us? They would
We'd get
arrest us.
arrested. Even as
Yeah.
Americans, we'd get arrested.
Even as Americans, we'd be arrested. So the guy got arrested doing what he shouldn't have been doing. And any way they twist the story, he still was breaking the law.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard about him a lot, because when Western outlets call me for quotes and they want to put me in articles, they ask me about this poor guy, and
Yeah.
I don't know the details, so I didn't have a position on it, but it did sound suspicious, because even like one time I was filming and in Russia, and military equipment drove in front of the camera, and I
Yeah.
deleted it because I mean, you could argue, well, maybe you didn't have to, you weren't trying to film Joe, but my point is to be careful. I mean, you can walk along the edge of a cliff and say, "Ha ha, I'm safe," but you are on the edge of a cliff. You might fall off. And we
Yeah.
all need to be careful. If we're not trying to break the law, be careful that you're not breaking the law. So either this guy was breaking the law on purpose, or he just wasn't being smart, and it
Right.
sounds like he was, you know, breaking the law
Yeah.
on purpose.
Either way, he broke the law. I
Right.
mean, I remember sitting on my balcony eating pizza with my wife one night, and I'm making video of the beautiful sunset. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, we see smoke coming from a ship.
Okay.
And I realized what we just were watching was the preparation for a launch of Kinjal missiles towards Ukraine. And I videoed the launch.
Oh
That
wow.
video lasted on my camera all of about 3 seconds because
Mm,
I wasn't going to push it.
exactly.
So, same
Exactly.
thing you're talking about.
Yeah. 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 All right. So who's next? Most interesting guy or
Oh,
gal?
Paul Whelan,
Ah, I've
50,
heard that name, but I don't know anything about this guy. So please fill me in.
54-year-old former U.S. Marine and Michigan Global Security Chief for Borg Warner. He was accused of espionage.
Hmm.
He was arrested in his hotel room in Moscow. He had a USB drive that contained classified information on it. And
Okay.
he claimed that he was a tourist in Russia. He was at a friend's wedding and he was visiting a friend named Ilya Yatsenko who gave him the USB drive and he thought it was USB drive of the wedding pictures. And but it turned out it was a USB drive full of confidential information. Um, Yatsenko is an artist, so um, you know the United States and the West will tell you that Whelan was, uh, he was put to hard labor in a Russian work camp.
Okay.
His hard labor was is he was supposed to cut the stray threads off of new prison uniforms that other prisoners were making. And then he got, bumped up in status there and he began sewing buttonholes. So that was his
Oh.
hard labor. Um, and Whalen actually has a pretty sordid background to begin with. He holds 4 passports: Canadian, which is where he was born, US, UK, and Ireland. So you start talking about things that are suspicious. I know people who have 4 or 5 different passports. They all
Hmm.
work for intelligence services.
Ah.
I don't
Okay.
know anybody who doesn't work for intelligence that has that many passports.
Right.
Um, So he had a dishonorable discharge from the US military. He was a former police officer and sheriff's officer, bad conduct discharges, dereliction of duty, theft, making false statements, false official statements, and wrongfully using other people's social security numbers. So, he probably wasn't the guy you can really take his word for.
Okay. Well, we're most of us are not ex-Washington men and ex-evil Americans. So, Kevin, could you describe what might be going on here? I just think about movies, and I think, well, this sounds like a guy who was a bad guy, and he cut a deal with like spy agencies to try and leverage his life, or what, or is he perhaps just an innocent bystander that was being used as what do you call the mule, like to carry something and he didn't know it. But if that was the case, and Russia, obviously Russia was on him because they picked him up, then they would also be figuring out that who else was involved if he didn't know what he was doing. So help me out here, because I'm a nobody in regards to this stuff. I don't know anything about this stuff.
Well, he could have just been an idiot or a mule.
Uh-huh.
Um, here, take this USB drive and take it home with you, give it to a friend, show them our pictures. Um, it had nothing to do with recent arrests to get other people released. He was arrested back in December of 2018. So he's been in jail in Russia for quite some time.
Oh,
So the
wow.
most likely cases is either he was stupid and, like you say, he was unknowingly carrying something back, or
Hmm.
he was actually doing work for some intelligence agency. I
But he
say
doesn't
4
even sound like a
passports is
guy.
suspicious, but
He doesn't even sound like a guy that the US would want back. Sounds like he's a criminal and a liar and a cheater, like someone that you'd want to stay away from.
yeah, but how about the UK or Ireland or I don't know. It sounds more likely. Like I say, the 4 passports is suspicious, but it sounds
Mhm.
like somebody who just wasn't too bright.
Oh, really? So you think he was just a mule?
I think it's a good possibility.
Okay. All right.
But
Interesting.
he he got caught holding the goods.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
being in possession of confidential information. If you or I were sitting in the United States and somebody gave us confidential information, even if we didn't know it and we carried it to Russia, um, we could very easily, or we're planning to carry it to Russia, we could very easily be arrested in the United States for espionage.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to
So,
answer these questions when you fly. Did anyone give you anything that you
exactly.
want to say? And this is why, right? Um,
Yep.
you can't say, "Oh, it's not mine."
So, Emma, I will get to the woman who was returned shortly. One of them we already talked about, but there were several of them. So we had Alsu Kurmasheva. She was a journalist for Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. She was arrested in Kazan, the capital of Tartarstan, for
Mhm.
failure to register as a foreign agent. And this charge came about because she obtained a US passport while holding a Russian passport. And a lot of Russians don't even know this. If you go to another country and obtain another passport, you come back to Russia, you have to register that foreign passport with the authorities in Russia. Um,
Okay.
my daughter, she had a US pass. She was automatically registered when she got her Russian citizenship because she
Okay.
entered on a US passport.
Okay.
But when she leaves, she has to leave on a Russian passport. When she enters the US, she has to enter on a US passport, leaves the US on a US passport, comes in on a Russian passport. But
Mhm.
she was in Turkey to get on the plane. She's checking in. She gave them her Russian passport. And they said, well, but you have 2 passports, don't you? So people also need to understand these computers are all connected. US, Russia, Europe, they aren't as standoffish with each other as they claim they are. So that was the first thing she was charged with, was not registering her uh, foreign passport, which made her a foreign agent in Russia, and then spreading false information about the Russian military. And they somebody said it in the chat that Radio Free Europe tends to be fascist. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they aren't very Russia friendly.
Okay. All right.
So,
Very good.
next guy we had was Vladimir Kara-Murza, 42 years old. He was a dual Russian UK citizen, opposition figure, and journalist. He was
Okay.
also a US green card holder. And he was convicted of false statements against the Russian Federation Army for accusing Russian troops of committing war crimes in Ukraine. And he also was calling for regime change in Moscow. Well, if you call for regime change in Moscow, the last place in the world you want to travel is to Moscow.
Right. Wow.
So we then had Kevin Leake. 19 years old, the youngest one detained in Russia, a dual Russian-German citizenship, was emailing photos of the special military operation staging grounds on the eve of the uh, operation
Before
to
it
a
started.
foreign state.
Hmm. Wow.
So could have been totally innocent. You know, it's like you say, you happen to be taking, you say, oh, look at all the tanks. You take it and you send it to a friend in another country and say, oh, look what I saw. Could be
Wow.
totally innocent, but he broke the law.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay.
All righty.
Oleg Orlov, 71 years old, longtime Soviet and Russian activist. He was arrested for denouncing the conflict in Ukraine and accusing Russia of descending into fascism.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see some patterns in what people get arrested here. And so Westerners know you can criticize the government in Russia and you can criticize the military. What you cannot do is say something that you know is false against the government, a government official, or the military. So, um, again, it's something you have to make sure of your facts before you make a statement about it.
Here's a random thought, Kevin. Uh, as I listen to you, because you and I are Americans in Russia, can we vote in America or vote here for the president? Let's say.
Well, if you can get a hold of somebody at the Russian embassy, they will tell you you can get a mail in ballot.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the mail doesn't come here from the United States. I
Uh,
do know that Eddie Gonzalez, our friend from Moscow photographer,
mm-hmm.
um, in Texas, they allow him to vote online. So he will be able to vote.
Okay. Okay.
I
Wonder
can't.
if
I
Florida
either
has
have to
that.
get a mail in ballot. Um, but since neither of us lived in Texas, our option is to fly to Poland, go to the embassy, and vote there.
Ah, okay. So basically, we can't vote because of sanctions, right?
Right.
Ah,
But the
okay.
only place you and I can go since we live in Russia is to Poland. You can't go to like Armenia to a US embassy. You have to go to the Polish embassy because they're responsible for people in the Russian Federation.
Very interesting. Okay. Because
So,
because you could say the Biden administration is responsible for the sanctions, and you could also say the Biden administration wants more voters, but they just
or you
lost a
could
few.
or you could say they want fewer conservative voters, which tend to be the people in Russia.
That's for sure.
So,
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, that's a
yeah,
bummer. But I'm glad
yeah,
to know it now because I've been thinking, I should vote, but I'm gonna have to look into this. It's gonna be a hassle, the paperwork. But now you've told me, I feel absolved. I feel off the hook, because I'm not gonna fly
yeah.
to Poland. So
Well, I got news for you. I'm not going to Poland to vote either.
okay.
So
All right.
number
So who's
number
next?
7 returned to the West.
Hmm.
Lilia Chanyasheva,
Hmm.
former employee of late opposition activist Alexei Navalny, and
Oh wow, that's
she was
interesting.
yeah, she was found guilty of creating an extremist community, inciting extremism, and establishing an organization that violated citizens' rights.
Oh wow. Okay. And if you've heard of Navalny, but you don't know the details, Kevin and I did a live stream on him. So just go back into our live tabs and you can look that up. And I think we just did a 1 hour live on who is Navalny. Um,
Yep.
very interesting.
So the next one was related to Lilia, Ksenia Fedeva. She was sentenced for extremism as well. Um, again, former employee of Navalny, and one of them, I don't remember which one, was posting. Let me see if I can find that. Fascism. Yep, she was one of those two women were arrested for posting. They were replacing the price tags in a grocery store with stickers saying Russia is a fascist state.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
one of the two of them, I don't remember which one.
Why? Why do people do this to themselves, you know?
My wife often says that people create their own worries and problems.
I mean, it's not that's not going to do anything, you know? I mean, they're not like being William Wallace here or George Washington. It's just ridiculous, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, even if you think that Russia's the bad guys, which obviously I don't, you know, and you don't, but why would someone do that? Yeah, it's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. Hey, another thing I forgot to ask you, I wanted to ask the thing, was this a one for one swap or no?
No.
Okay.
16 people to the west and 10 adults, 12 including the children to Russia.
Okay, so basically 1610 because the kids just came along. If anyone could
1610.
have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess what that means, supposedly, if all is fair, the 10 people were more valuable than the 16. Correct?
Well, maybe. Depends on whose propaganda you listen to.
Okay.
The West says the people they released were severe criminals.
Okay.
And the people that they got back were all just journalists and tourists and nobody breaking the law. They were targeted by Russia. And as we've already seen with some of them, that's not the case.
Right. 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 Okay.
And I'd say some of the people that Russia got back, some of them are probably bad people. Some probably also had charges that are not great.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, number 9 that the West got back, Ilya Yashin, 41 years old, former Moscow councilman, but he was designated as a foreign agent uh, and convicted of spreading false information about the Russian military again.
Huh.
So he was removed from his council post and thrown in jail.
Interesting.
Rico Krager, age 30, German citizen, sentenced to death in Belarus for
Whoa.
acting on behalf of Ukrainian intelligence services.
Wow.
Belarus, last European country with the death penalty.
Oh, wow.
He
Okay.
he was found guilty of mercenary activity and acts of terrorism because he detonated an explosive charge on a rail line in Belarus on behalf, they say, of Ukrainian intelligence. Whether it was
Wow.
on behalf of Ukrainian intelligence or not, reality is he did blow up a rail line. So
Okay. So this is a real bad guy.
this is a real
Either
bad
way you
guy.
cut it. Wow.
Yeah. He was given a pardon on Tuesday to allow his release back to the West on Wednesday.
Jeez, man.
Patrick
Crazy.
Schobel, another German. Lots of Germans in this deal. 38 years old. He was a German tourist. This this guy is one of those like the basketball player. He was a German tourist, came to Russia to meet a Russian woman that he met online.
Okay.
He was carrying pot containing gummy bears.
Oh my gosh. So this guy's
So
just a goofball. He just was
he's a
stupid.
goofball and got busted for drugs. Yeah. So real hard criminal.
All right. Well, I'm happy for
Yeah.
him. Go home. Be more careful.
Yeah. Vadim Astanin, 47-year-old Russian activist. He was head of Navalny's FBK Foundation,
Oh
and
wow.
they declared the foundation an extremist organization in Russia. He continued
Hmm.
running it, so they arrested him for running an extremist organization.
Wow. Crazy.
Alexandra Skochelenko, 33-year-old Russian artist and poet. She's the one who actually put the stickers in the grocery store. So I was wrong when I said it was one of the other two. The
Good
other two
job
are just
retracting.
Navalny associates. Yeah. So she's the one who got arrested for sticking Russia as fascist on the supermarket shelves. And she also claimed that the Russian military purposefully bombed Ukrainian citizens. So that was what she got it for. Andrei Pivovarov. Andrei Pivovarov.
Okay.
He ran the organization that's banned in Russia, Open Russia. And this is a US-backed organization that calls for regime change in Russia.
Okay. Interesting. Well, it makes sense it was banned.
Yep. So Dieter Demuri Voronin, he was arrested for paying a Roscosmos employee named Ivan Safronov for classified information about the Russian military in Syria on behalf of
Okay.
German intelligence. He's a German citizen and Russian citizen, and he used a false Georgian name on his Russian passport. So his Russian passport was actually fake.
Wow.
So not the most innocent looking guy.
Wow. Very interesting.
And number 16 that the West got back was German Moises, who was a dual Russian-German lawyer. And he was helping Russian men avoid the draft in 2022 by helping them get EU residency permits.
Huh. Okay.
So those are the 16 that the West got back. And Erica is asking us, why is the US trading to get folks who aren't US citizens?
Good
Probably,
question.
yeah, probably because they wanted to look better, and they probably, again, Joseph, like you said earlier, some of these Russian guys look like they could be very bad guys. So maybe they wanted a little more bang for their buck.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, the U.S. wants to rule the world, right? They are the American empire.
Yeah.
So to me, that's an easy answer. Why are they trading on behalf of other Western countries? They want to be everyone's daddy. It would be my thought. So,
And were they really the ones doing the trading, or was it the Turks negotiating for everybody?
right,
You've got a bunch of Germans here,
right,
and maybe Germany was jumping up and down saying, hey, if if Russia's getting people back, we want our people back too.
right.
So could be a
Interesting.
lot of things.
Right. Okay. What
So
about what
who
about the neighboring country that it's better for us not to talk about too much? I mean, aren't there lots of trades that Russia might want to do with them?
they actually do a lot of trades
Okay, so that's
quite
an
often.
ongoing thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
prisoner
Okay.
of war exchanges.
Okay. Okay.
So
Very
that's an
cool.
ongoing thing. We're talking 25, 30, 100 people at a time.
Wow. Okay.
So who did Russia get back? This is
Yeah.
probably this guy. And this is another reason why they're probably negotiating for countries like Germany. Vadim Krasakov,
Okay.
who is an alleged FSB operative. He was arrested in Germany for killing a Chechen separatist who had Georgian citizenship in a Berlin park while he was speeding through the park on his bicycle, which earned him the name the Berlin Bicycle Killer.
Huh.
And I hate to laugh. It's just a funny little story.
Well, could it have been an accident, or was he like?
No, he was chasing him and shot him.
Oh, okay. That wasn't an accident.
Suppose allegedly.
Right. Right.
So he was arrested for this, but all the evidence that they have came from the German magazine Der Spiegel, the
Okay.
US funded Bellingcat, and
Okay.
Russian opposition outlet The Insider. That was the sole evidence against him.
Interesting.
And the family of the guy that was killed has criticized Germany for letting him go. But
Hmm.
the judge who determined to let him go said that this was a case of freedom in the case of doubt. That was a decisive factor in why he released him. So
Huh.
that tells you how credible the evidence actually
So the
was.
evidence is not super strong. Interesting.
Yeah. And the judge is
Even
saying,
though
well,
he has a nickname for being a bicycle killer. Wow.
yeah, but he comes home with a great nickname.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Don't let him on a, what are those scooters called in Russian? Um, the people they're protesting, not protesting. People don't like the scooters in Moscow, the
Yeah.
electric scooters everywhere. What are those
Yeah.
things called in
Don't give him
Russian?
an electric scooter. Yeah.
I forget the Russian name. I say it all the time. Uh,
Uh,
anyway, don't let him on a scooter in Russia.
yeah. So next guy on the list is Vladislav Klushin, 43-year-old Russian businessman. And he was running a $100 million stock market scam in the United States
Oh wow.
involving funds stolen by computer hacking.
Oh wow.
So, not the worst criminal in the world, if as far as violence or anything like that, but he
Right.
took a good amount of money.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And of course, we already talked about Artem and Anna Doltsev from
Right.
Slovenia. Uh, Another questionable one is Pavel Rubtsov. Um, he was arrested in Poland, age 42. He's also known as Pablo Gonzalez. And he was doing interviews on the border of Poland and Ukraine about Ukrainian refugees and was arrested by Poland and accused of being a Russian intelligence agent because he had two passports with two different names.
Hmm.
Now, this goes back to the last one we said where they had different names. However, Rubtsov, also known as Pablo Gonzalez, he was born in Russia and his name was Rubtsov, Pavel
Okay.
Rubtsov. In 1991, his mother moved him to Spain, and his mother changed his name to Pablo Gonzalez. So this is
Hmm.
why he has a Russian passport with one name and a Spanish passport with another. She legally changed his name.
Huh.
Maybe, she wanted to break ties with a father or whatever, but he was a prominent Spanish journalist who covered Donbass, which would be the most likely reason why he was arrested in Poland.
Hmm.
That would be my thoughts on it.
Got it.
Um, Additional proof they entered against him in court was him receiving payments from the Russian Federation.
Hmm.
However, it was later determined that the money that they were accusing him of receiving in Poland was actually money the Russian Federation was sending his father in Moscow. So
Wow.
he was never formally charged, but he's been held since 2022.
Okay.
And he has a Spanish wife and 3 children.
Hmm. Okay.
So not the most not what I would call the best circumstances to arrest a guy.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
all
Right.
about which against the counter to the narrative. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, you and I know we can't have certain opinions. Um, you know, not because of Russia, but because of the algorithm.
Yeah.
So, so we know what that's
Somebody
like.
knows me.
That's Lucas. He made a new profile and logged back on.
Yeah. It's okay. You can call me fat if you want. You know nothing about me. You do it again, I'll ban you too. So
Oh,
Mihail Mikushin, he was arrested in Norway and held on charges of suspicion of spying for Russia. He was
okay.
actually in Norway on a Brazilian passport using the name Jose Assis Gayamari. So we
Hmm.
have lots of Russians using different names when they're elsewhere.
Okay.
But that was he was a lecturer at a university in Norway, and they
Hmm.
arrested him because he had two passports, basically.
Right. 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 Right.
So terrible, terrible criminals.
Wow.
And Vladislav Klushina, he was released from the United States. Businessman arrested in Switzerland and extradited to the United States for securities fraud.
Huh.
He was running a hack to trade scheme that netted, some places are saying 93 million, some 169 million through securities trades based on them hacking in and getting confidential corporate information from
Hmm.
corporations in the United States. So
Right.
again, another one of these, very dangerous guys.
Right. Right.
Now, Vadim Konashenko was released from the United States. He was arrested in Estonia on a US warrant and sent back to the United States. He was accused of having ties with the FSB and smuggling illicit munitions to Moscow. Um, Nothing I found out there shows any proof whatsoever was given. And of course, we know those Nordic states are often just playing games like they did with Julian Assange to uh, get them to the United States to convict them for whatever reason.
Right.
So
Right.
I question that one only because of it being Estonia.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's surprising that they don't try to be more friendly with Russia, because
Yeah.
they're so close, you know.
Yeah.
Mm, interesting.
So the last one the Russians got back, number 10, Maxim Marchenko. He was imprisoned in the United States. He pled guilty to federal charges of money laundering and smuggling.
Hmm.
He allegedly transported U.S. manufactured military grade microelectronics to end users in Russia. So basically, he was selling computer chips to Russians against sanctions. And
Huh.
he was sentenced on July 17th of 2024 to 3 years in prison. Short trial, short sentencing, just before the release of these prisoners. So,
Hmm.
was it really he was selling microchips illegally against sanctions, or was it just more
We need another
political?
guy. Quick, get him.
Yeah, we need another guy. And this is why I say you have to compare what, the West says Russia does about, just grabbing people off the street and arresting them for no reason, and what
Uh-huh.
happens in Western countries. They all
Right.
do it. They all claim that they aren't doing it. They're all guilty.
Hmm.
And many of
Well, I
these
mean, I,
people
I I
are
heard a
innocent.
long
Yeah.
time ago the U.S. has like so many laws in the books that the average person commits 3 felonies a day, and they don't even know about it. And there's a book called 3 Felonies a Day. So what that means is if DC wants you, they can get you for anything, anybody. You know.
Well, I think about Maria Butina. She was
Hmm.
arrested in the United States for conspiracy,
Okay.
and there is no defense to a conspiracy charge. Her actual crime was that she bought an airplane ticket for a friend to visit the United States. It happened to be that this friend had ties to the government in Russia, but
Okay.
it was an innocent buying a ticket. She had been involved in some discussions with Trump about gun laws and things. She was researching things to bring back to Russia because, a lot of people don't know that she's involved in gun rights reform in Russia. But what they got her on was conspiracy because she bought this plane ticket, and she
Okay,
spent
that's
time in
interesting.
prison for that.
What kind of reform is she working for or hoping to get?
She's hoping to make it easier for people to get and own guns.
Okay, so she wants it to be more like the US.
Uh, Somewhat. Hunting
Okay.
guns, not, you know, handguns and things like that.
Okay. And
Pretty
so
tough to get a rifle here.
she appears to be innocent according to your research.
Yes.
And so then why did DC, I guess you could say, why did they do this?
Well, good question. Again, you know, I don't know if they were looking to trade somebody or, just to aggravate Russia or what. Why did they arrest Mira Tereda in Finland and haul her back
Mhm.
to the United States on trumped up drug trafficking charges?
Okay.
Same thing. I view her as, knowing her deep story that, I think those charges were trumped up as well.
Hmm.
I don't think
So,
it's any different than when they accuse Russia of, doing it to this Whalen guy back in 2018. Why did they
mhm.
grab him? There was nothing going on between the two countries then. There was no reason, unless the guy was really guilty of something.
I wonder if was Butina friendly with Trump, friendly with conservatives, and was she taken by um, a liberal, court or whatever?
I don't know. Let's find out.
In what year
What
was she
year?
arrested, and how long was she held?
Let's find out. She was convicted in 2018
Hmm.
of acting as an unregistered foreign agent of Russia.
Okay,
So, um,
so that was 6 years ago. So that was while
that
Trump
was
was
that was
president.
Trump, yeah.
Huh.
And yet
Okay.
she had discussions with Trump, and she was a avid supporter of the NRA, worked with the NRA. So,
Well, I mean, Trump had. I mean, DC is appears to be corrupt and has a lot of people that are, not on Trump's side. So that doesn't sound unreasonable that could happen. Um, how long was she held there? When was she released?
she was released in she was held for 3 years, if I recall correctly.
That is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, let's see
Um,
when.
because I think she came back to Russia around the time I started the channel, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, she was released in October of 2019. She served 15 months.
Wow. Okay. All right. So not too long, but still, that's a long time if you're innocent. Um,
Yep.
and,
And
yeah,
if you
and
haven't read her book, you should read her book. Um, Title of it off the top of my head, I don't recall. She's got it in English and Russian, but talks about how she was treated in the Russian prison system as a Russian woman
you mean the American prison system,
or in an American prison as a
right?
Russian woman.
Yeah, it's tough to hear because if you know what she looks like, I mean, we're not talking about like someone who looks like you or I. I mean, this is like a chick. This is like a beautiful woman, a young woman. So that's really that's
Yeah.
tough. Wow. Well,
Yeah. I
speaking of
mean,
Trump, Kevin, I wanted to ask you before we run out of time because we're coming to the end here. Who should we vote for?
you should vote for whoever you think will make the United States a wonderful place to live. And if there isn't a candidate, write in somebody you think that will.
Okay, I'm trying to decide between Jesse Jackson or Jesse Ventura. What do you think?
If I was going to write somebody in, probably Jesse Ventura.
No, I mean, I haven't. This is my first live stream in 2 months, so I missed all the political talk with you. So, anything I missed that you should share with me? Any insight that you have for all of us on the presidential race and all that stuff?
I don't know. Everyone talks about how Trump is running so far ahead of Harris. Reality is the numbers haven't changed since it was Trump versus Biden.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know.
46% to 48%, Trump in the lead. Harris has gone up about half a point.
Okay.
Trump has gone up about 0.2 of a point. And
Well,
that's
so now here's
that's
a
an
serious
average
question.
of all the polls out there.
Right. And I've heard that those polls are usually like that for everybody until you get very close to election day. And then the pollsters don't want to look stupid, so they give you more realistic guesses.
Yeah.
But a serious question, because we live in Russia. Who would be best for Russia? Do you have an
I
opinion on it?
I think Trump will be best for Russia only because Trump doesn't necessarily love Russia and Putin. He doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily love Kim Jong Un.
Mhm.
Um, he doesn't necessarily love President Xi in China, but
Mhm.
he's made this statement several times, and he showed in his first time in office that this is what he believes: is
Mhm.
it's good to make friends with people who own nuclear weapons. It's
Mhm.
better to be their friend than their enemy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And because
Yeah.
he believes that, it shows he has more thought towards some kind of diplomacy if
Mhm.
Congress and the deep state will allow him.
Mhm. Wow. Okay.
I think it'll
Yeah,
be
I
awful.
agree. Because
Yeah,
sometimes people are cynical and they give comments like, "Oh, vote for whoever you want. It doesn't matter." And apparently now you and I know we can't vote for anybody, but I think it does matter. I mean, you're rolling the dice, of course. You never know, but I think it looks like to me Trump is the better bet for Russia. Um, and
he's the better bet
I'm
for Russia. But if you want to, as a man, wear a dress and call yourself a woman, Harris is the better bet.
um, be careful,
Hey,
man. The algorithm.
I'm
What's
just
wrong
trying to
with
give
you?
a balanced view here.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand why some people don't like him because as a serious Christian, I've struggled with him over the years because he's been like rude to women and he has a personality that I don't really like. But what I found very interesting is, him surviving the assassination attempt, and I did a video on that. He really seems humble and he seems like he cares. Maybe he's fooling us all or fooling only me. Um, but when he's asked about this conflict between Russia and the neighboring country, like who are you for? Like they're trying to trap him. He's like, I'm for people not dying. That's
Yeah.
his gut feeling, and he said that many times. Whereas you have, on the other hand, for example, like many years ago when Mitt Romney was running for president, I thought, wow, this guy sounds good. He looks good. He believes in Jesus. Of course, I'm not excited about Mitt Romney anymore, but he looks the part. But yet, when he's asked about the conflict, he's like, "This is great because America gets to fund this, and none of us have to be deleted. None of us have to die."
Yeah.
So like he's saying he believes in Jesus, and he's excited that there's a protracted conflict where people are dying on both sides on a regular basis, and he thinks this is a good thing. It's just funny
And he,
that the guy who
yeah.
looks like the good Christian is saying this, and the guy who doesn't look like the good Christian is saying the better things, and it's been a real heart check and mind check for me, if that makes
Well, and
sense.
Trump's running mate has said that it's his intention to make sure Trump ends funding for this war,
Mhm,
this
mhm,
special
mhm.
military operation. Excuse me for the slip up.
Well, Trump has said many times that it's going to end like the day before he becomes president. Now, you can say, "Oh, how can he do that?" Well, who knows? I mean, you and I could speculate, but the point is he's now kind of staked part of his credibility on this thing. So if he doesn't make it happen, then it's going to hurt him politically. Not it wouldn't completely wipe out his presidency if he became president again, but it would not be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, he's also put a stake in the ground about Israel and, he's going to end all conflicts. We'll see.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I think just from his prior term as president, he actually has, some credibility in what he's saying, that he
Right.
believes in actually talking to people.
Right. Right. No, I'd agree. I'd agree. And I would be surprised at this point if Kamala won. But like you said, the polls don't show a major difference. Even though Trump went through this miracle of surviving, you know, something as crazy as being shot through the ear. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, DC is a powerful machine, and maybe they can make a miracle happen with Kamala. So
Maybe. Um, who knows? So
all right,
um, I'm I'm going to address this just one more time,
please,
uh,
please, please.
since it seems to be going back and forth with disagreements and stuff here.
Oh, in the
Max,
chat.
yeah, Max, I addressed this earlier in the show. I'm not going to tell you what I said. We're going to make you go back and watch the beginning of the show.
Great. We'll get
Um,
another view.
yes, and saying that Didenko, a member of the Duma, said that. Well, I've had more than one member of the Duma personally tell me that, and this isn't from what the media you're reading online somewhere. I don't know where you read this. Is saying I got this directly from Duma members say it's not likely to happen.
Well,
But
what are you talking about? Like for people who are just listening, like, can you give it to us in a nutshell?
YouTube being blocked,
Okay, okay, okay,
Russia to block Google, iOS, and Android.
okay.
Um, First off, they're only talking about YouTube,
Hmm,
which is Google. Um,
okay.
they aren't going to block Android phones. They're too popular here. They aren't going to block iOS phones. They're too popular here. That won't happen. Um,
Okay.
but if you want to know why I say that it won't happen, go back and watch the beginning of the stream. And we actually have a Russian agreeing with us.
Very good.
Nakaru. It's unlikely to
All right.
happen. Yep, it'll make a lot of people mad.
Well, Kevin, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
I do. Max. Yep, wrong one. Max, you
That
might
was a
as
blunt
well
one.
stop. You're incorrect. Um, it's slowed down on some desktops. It's blocked on some. It's been blocked in Crimea for months and months and months. So it works some places. It doesn't work others. Um, if you want to know why I'm saying what I'm saying, go back and listen to the front of it. So enough on that subject. Closing thoughts: don't believe everything you read in the news. Um, you know, look at both sides of the story, dig into what you're being told, and find out what the truth is. Like I say, if I didn't dig into Maria Butina's story, I could buy that she was a foreign agent. I did when she was first arrested. So you have to dig into things and look. We didn't get into the Trump shooting and all of that. Look into it. Um, throw out the things that are a little far fetched. It was bad communication. The Secret Service screwed up. Uh, and that's really all you can say about it. Adding anything more to it is just speculation. Don't speculate, look for facts.
Wow. Okay. Well,
And
thanks for
watch
sharing,
Joseph.
man.
If you want to go to Moscow, find his wife, great woman. I talk to her often. So
You're very kind, very kind. Yeah, well, guys, whether you're watching this on mine or his, if you're watching on mine, definitely go check out Kevin. There's a bug in my face. Russia has bugs, but yeah, Kevin's an American who lives in Crimea, which is that an island or a peninsula? What would you say? I guess it's a peninsula technically, right?
Technically,
Uh,
it's a peninsula. Yeah.
so it's like tropical, subtropical Russia. And he is a very smart guy in a chair who has old connections with American government stuff, you could say, right?
We
So
could
you can
say I
watch
have
it.
connections with various governments stuff.
Right, right, right. So you can watch all his episodes and catch up. And he and I have done several lives together, and maybe one day we'll do something in person. I do only some lives. Most of my show is like, comedy, adventure, and some now political analysis stuff with my family and with different guests. I'm an American in Moscow. And my next video is pretty darn cool because I went down to Kevin's part of the world. I did not see Kevin. Don't get too excited. It's not that special. But I actually do a video expose on beaches in Russia, which I didn't even realize existed until I met my Russian wife. So we'll have that
Yeah.
out this weekend sometime.
So tell
And
the truth,
yeah,
you were afraid to cross the bridge.
actually, my wife planned the whole thing. I just went along for a ride, had a fun time, and I was like, "Honey, I'll be working, making videos while we're on family vacation." Um, but yeah,
Uh,
I've got a video of us going there out already, and the next video will be at the beach. And yeah, like I said, check out Kevin's
yeah,
channel as well as mine. And
yeah.
I
Max,
guess
planes with weapons landing in Tehran. You want news from my side on that? Check out a channel that I'm on quite often, Maverick News from Canada, also found on YouTube.
okay, cool. All right. Oh, and if you guys want to hear more of my thoughts on Trump, I did a video on that recently. Um,
Yep.
all right, Kevin, you
A
want to
good
say
one.
goodbye?
Good night. Good night. Till we see again.
Whatever
Adios.
time it is for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Whatever time it is for you guys.
It's very late for Kevin
Arrivederci.
and I. We're approaching 1 a.m. All
Yep.
right, see you later, guys.
Ciao.